11 minus 4x equals negative 1. Starting next week, we're going to be using a list of things that we can check every time. Sometimes we'll be able to skip. So first on this list is distribute. When we're looking for distribution, we're looking for a number right next to the parentheses, and we would multiply the things inside the parentheses. We can skip that on this question because I don't have any parentheses. So we go to the next thing, combine like terms on each side. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line down our equal sign, and you should be writing this down on a piece of paper as I write it down. And we're going to look on the left. Can I put an 11 with a negative 4x? No, they are not alike because one is a constant, a plain number, and the other one has a variable, an x. And on the other side, there's just a negative 1. So we cannot simplify. So check. Now we move on to the next step. Do we have a variable on both sides of the equation? A variable is a letter. Do we have a letter on each side? I have an x on the left, but no letter on the right. So that means I also will get to skip this next step. The goal of solving an equation is always going to be to get what you want to solve for. In this case, it's the x on the left, so the letter, and that's not necessarily true. You can put it on either side, but we want to get the letter on one side by itself and the number on the other side. So here we are. We got to skip all of these beginning steps, and we are at this first step right here. Add and subtract your constants. Zero them out. Your constants are your plain numbers without the variable, without the letter. So how do we get rid of an 11? 11 is positive, and we know that because it does not have a negative sign in front. So to get rid of a positive 11, we do a negative 11. Whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, I do to the other. And since they are alike, they are both plain numbers, I line them up. So when I look at those, they are zero pairs, so they zero out, and I do not have to say 0 minus 4x. I can just copy down the minus 4x, and now it looks like a negative 4x. Mathematically, this means the same thing. And on the right-hand side of that equal sign, we have a negative 1 minus 11. You are welcome to get on your Desmos and type this in. Whenever you have the same signs, you are actually combining your numbers. So that's a 12, and they're both negative, so you keep your sign, which is a negative. You have negative 1 minus 11, you're at a negative 12. And you can think about an elevator. Going down one floor, going down 11 floors, where are you? You're at that negative 12. So we did our constants. The next step is that we are going to multiply and divide our coefficients. We're on the step that I just put a blue star next to. We are going to try to get our variable isolated. That means by itself. So we're going to do the opposite. Whenever a letter and a number are side by side, that means multiply. To undo multiply, we are going to divide. Whenever we do divide when we're solving equations, we're going to do it like a fraction bar. So we have a negative 4 is what we're dividing by, so that our 4's divide out, and that gives us a 1. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And if you can see, whenever I did that, whenever I showed you that vertical line, it kind of looks like it's making two positive signs right there. So we have a plus 1x equals, and then if you need to, again, you can get on Desmos and you can type this in, and it just so happens we are going to get the same answer as we did on the last example. The answer will not always be a 3, but in this case it is. 12 divided by 4 is 3. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. And we usually do not write the answer looking like what I have. We're going to clean it up and simplify it. A positive 1x can be written like this, just an x, equals 3. You can check yourself by going back to your very first line, your original question, and you can plug in a 3 right there like we did on the previous example on video, and you will be able to see whenever you work it out, 11 minus 4 times 3 equals a negative 1. 11 minus 12 equals a negative 1. Negative 1 equals a negative 1. And so I know that I solved it right. The answer is a 3. As you move on to some of the other questions, you will be able to do what we did on this one and skip several of the steps. And you are going to solve the one-step equations by just doing the opposite. The opposite of add is subtract. The opposite of multiply is divide.